According to the Pentagon, China now has the world's largest navy and could have a new high-tech aircraft carrier as early as this February. The communist country also created mock U.S. Navy ships as potential target practice and recently tested a hypersonic missile, all of which has escalated tensions between the U.S. and China. However, Chinese President Xi Jinping will meet with President Biden virtually next week and says that he wants to manage differences between the two countries. And joining us now is John Ullyot, Republican strategist and former National Security Council spokesman under President Trump. John, good to see you.
Great to see you again, Tracy. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. You know, when I talk about these escalating tensions between the U.S. and China, how concerned should we be, and how does our military stack up against China's now?
Well, I think we should be very concerned, Tracy, because number one, from about 2 months into the Biden presidency, China lectured us when we were having that summit in Anchorage and essentially drew a big line, and they were probing the Biden administration, and in that case, it was Tony Blinken and Jake Sullivan, National Security Advisor, who were up there meeting with their counterparts in Anchorage, and they lectured us on our record on race, if you can believe it or not, trying to put us on the defensive where they are the ones with obviously the human rights record that is bottom of the barrel. So, but then since then, there was no real pushback there in Anchorage, and since then they've been doing a number of steps. Number one is that Xi is not meeting in person with Biden at all. President Trump had met with Xi twice in his first year in person, once down in Florida and then once when he had a great visit over in China itself. And so this shows a little bit of a back-of-the-hand treatment by Xi. They're always testing Biden. You brought up the issue of the hypersonic missile test. They're making threatening incursions into airspace right near Taiwan. Now, as you pointed out in your segment, just the opener, is that they have these mock-ups of a U.S. aircraft carrier that they're training against. And back to your original question, how concerned should we be about their buildup? We should be very concerned because for the first time, they've surpassed the number of ships that we have in our Navy. And that's very concerning because we're a naval power, they're a naval power. And if they start to act very aggressively, as they already have been for several years in the South China Sea, then it's going to be really tough for the region and also for the world as they start to deploy those ships. But they're knocking us down in terms of they're building ship after ship after ship, whereas we're struggling to get up to our 355-ship Navy, which has been a goal of President Trump's, and hopefully will continue under Biden.
Yeah, and also I just quickly want to bring this up. In Eric's report, as he said, you know, a number of the military members are concerned about the vaccine mandate. So that's a concern when you see that China is building up their Navy, the biggest in the world now, and we're having these issues here at home.
Here with the vaccine mandate, and remind everybody where this is another thing, is that Biden has not said that he's going to deal with any of the origins of the China virus and where it came from, whether a lab or whether a wet market. And the signs continuously point to the lab. But that shows that now, to your point, with we're worried about vaccine mandates with our troops, whereas they're getting serious in terms of training to actually go against our aircraft carriers and our other assets. It's something that it shows misplaced priorities for us. Look, a lot of Americans are pro-vaccine, but they're anti-mandate because ultimately it should be up to our servicemen. And you know, in some cases, Navy SEALs are not taking the vaccine, and we've spent over $500,000 training each one of those SEALs, and a lot of them have. I mean, it takes years to build up those capabilities, and you're now going to push them out because of some just blanket vaccine mandate. Once again, we should leave it ultimately up to everyone to decide what vaccine goes in their body. And that's something that is the opposite is happening under Biden's leadership at DOD.
And I know you're speaking from experience as a former Marine. I want to move us along.
I should say on that note, it's the Marine Corps birthday today, 10 November. And so happy birthday to all Marines out there. Happy
birthday, and thank everyone for their service, including you. Not a lot of time left, but I do want to talk about this because this is a big concern, and it seems to be growing: cybersecurity.
Right.
Been hearing a lot about that. There was a recent report out by the outlet Just the News. I think it happened last night. They had heard from some employees at the State Department that received a cyber security notice. I'm reading this because I want to make sure I get this right, instructing them to change their passwords on their unclassified government accounts immediately.
Right.
What do you think that signals, John?
Well, it signals an increased push, and a lot of this comes from Russia, and it's not directed by the Russian government that we can determine, but it is being allowed to happen. And a lot of the cyber threats against the U.S., not only U.S. Government, but also U.S. companies, are coming from operators within Russia. And so that's something that we should be very concerned about. Back in December, we had under President Trump, we had a big issue with Russian actors going against U.S. Treasury assets and others, and State Department is a next logical target. So it's something we should be very concerned about, and it's good that the State Department is vigilant to ask people to do that. But it's a worrying sign because it shows that there's not a lot of, even though Biden met with Putin out in Switzerland just earlier this summer and pressed him on this point, it doesn't seem like Putin is cracking down the way he needs to do against these non-state actors that are increasingly going after our government as well as corporate interests. Yeah, very concerning, and we'll be keeping an eye on it for sure. John, thank you so much for your time. I always appreciate it. Thank you, Tracy. Good to be on.